Welcome. I don't know why I took such a deep breath.
Wait, I want to know, yeah?
What?
Where is this water from?
It's from a corner shop.
No, but it's got Chinese writing on it. I've
Really?
never seen an Evian bottle with Chinese writing on it.
I'm sorry, Darren.
Yo.
Let me see. I didn't read the bottle. Is it for real? Okay. You know what's so weird, yeah? I did think the bottle looked different because normally when it's this size, it has a red lid.
Yeah. No, if you told me it was in Chinatown or something, it wouldn't even be funny. But the fact that you just...
It was the corner shop by my house.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But you chose the right water, though.
Good. I was actually stressed. I didn't know what to choose, what size, water.
If you brought me Evian, it might... this is Evian. Volvic.
Yeah, I know. Volvic is weird. It has like, it's too thick. It's not like normal water, but it's so funny you said that because I was going to get Volvic for you. And then I was like, Cam, you would never get it for yourself. So get him Evian. And then it was the Chinese labeled. Yeah, sorry.
It is what it is. No, it's good.
It is what it is.
It's good. It's
yeah.
nice. It's nice.
It's just water, isn't it?
No, but I mean like the bottle size and stuff. It's not like the little...
Yeah. That's the thing. And then I was like, should I get him a really little one or a 1 liter, like the big ones? And
We're
I was
adults.
like, that's a bit extra.
We are adults, you know. You can't get me the small bottle.
No.
At my age.
I was like, he needs to drink water.
That's a violation at my age.
No, actually, it felt that way. I was like, I can't turn up with this tiny bottle and then come with my 1 liter bottle.
That is so childish.
I was low-key a tiny bit, well, not stressed, but a little bit like, what water should I get?
I was meant to say it in the message as well, but I forgot.
Yeah,
But
it's okay.
You done well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm genuinely glad to hear that because I was not sure. And then it arrived with some random label, grass on the bottle.
I mean, you know, can't win them all. But yeah, welcome to another episode of the Alphawaves.
To another, yes. Why am I talking over you? Do you want to do the...
No, it's just really your thing, to be honest.
Welcome. That's true, it is. To another episode. Should I just start from the start? We may as well.
Might as well.
Welcome to another episode of Alphawaves. Are you flexing
building.
your muscles?
Woo,
Woo woo.
You normally criticize me for doing episode numbers, so I won't.
Yeah, please, because I don't even remember what episode number it is.
But what I will do is say what we're talking about today.
Yes.
And this episode is about accountability.
Yes, it is.
So why do women lack accountability? I'm joking. I'm messing around. We're not starting there.
No, we are not. Women are
starting.
very... You know what? We're not starting that.
I was messing around.
Yeah.
That's just like a...
Yeah.
What do you call it?
An icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. It worked so well. So go on, Darren. Tell me, why are we doing an episode on accountability today? Also, I just realized we're dressed really similarly, like colours.
It could have been weirder because I was actually going to wear like a grey long sleeve.
No way. We should start planning out.
We shouldn't ever start planning outfits.
We actually should, low-key. I'm not going to...
We should never do that.
But yeah, tell me, why accountability?
Why accountability? Because I feel like there's a culture going on at the moment where people are always pointing the finger at other people. Like, it's very rare that you see people step up and take accountability for things. I don't know what it comes down to. I don't know if it's like people aren't recognizing their part in when things happen or why things aren't happening, maybe. But there seems to be a lot of blame culture, like always pointing the fingers, always looking for the excuse without ever looking at yourself as a possibility. So yeah, that's kind of where it's stemmed from. But there's a lot to deep dive into when it comes to accountability.
Yeah, because I feel like we're in a weird space right now where people are becoming a lot more aware. So people can pinpoint why they are a certain way or what happened in their childhood or with whatever or their environment to create the person that's there today. And I think that's a really beautiful thing, because I've never seen any older people, any parents do something like that. And I think mapping out what the root of something is so beneficial.
Yeah.
But I have definitely seen that cross over into blaming your parents for everything, you know, blaming them for not changing now and not being on the same wavelength as you're growing and learning and wanting to forgive them or whatever, or have them admit to certain things.
Yeah.
I think that's where the lines blur a little bit, because you do have to respect where everyone is at on their journey. Yeah, just to touch on that a bit more as well, I want to keep it not just to parents and family and stuff like that, but one thing that I was thinking about not too long ago around this kind of topic, and with that whole thing with people blaming their parents for stuff, which, you know, I definitely used to do myself as well. And then I had a realization one day, and this kind of comes into accountability, where I was like, you know what? They didn't grow up with any of this, like the internet, access to so many things, people being so vocal about stuff. Where are they learning the stuff that I'm learning, you know? And it's not my job to teach anyone else. It's just my job to learn and like improve on myself, and then support others if they're open to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a by force thing.
I get what you're saying, yeah, but you see, like, with things like new technology, and maybe it's a bit different because we have grown up in the technology world, yeah. But don't you think within yourself that as you get older, you're gonna want to keep up to date with everything that's changing in the world? Or do you think you're gonna be? You
say that, but I asked my youngest sibling, who's 16 years old, about what platform they talk to their friends on. They don't even use WhatsApp or iMessage. They're using a whole new thing. We can't keep up. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but at least you're having the conversation though.
Yeah, but only because they're there. Do you know what I mean? Like, not everyone has younger siblings like that. And kids don't talk to their parents like that. It's already happening for me, where my youngest sibling is starting to look at me like I'm uncool and not, you know, able to talk to and stuff like that. And it's really painful.
But how do you maintain that relationship? Is that something that you have to actively...
You do with teenagers. They're not going to talk to you otherwise, I feel.
That's what I mean. So like, even in that instance, like, people will say stuff like that. Oh yeah, the kids, they don't speak to us or whatever. But how much effort are you actively putting in?
Exactly.
Like, do you look at yourself before you blame them?
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Because even with my younger sibling, I always try to like make time for us. So if I'm downstairs, like talk to them as much as I can, or ask them about their friends, or make jokes, or this, that, and the other. And I think because although sometimes our dynamic crosses over into like a parent kind of, you know, carer kind of thing, it is very clear that I am their sibling, you know? So whenever they tell me things, they know that they're not going to get punished or super told off or something like that. You know, they're able to talk to me about it. And I also gossip with them about not everything, obviously, but certain things that are going on in my life.
That makes sense.
Yeah, to try and like open those lines of communication.
Well, you see, like in that dynamic, can you ever be held accountable for how they behave? Do you feel? Like, who has to be, when you're raising younger, whether it's siblings or whatever?
Yeah, I think in certain ways, like you can't be held accountable for their interests or whatever, for example, or things that are so individual to them, but the way they speak,
their behaviors,
things like that, like how they speak, they learnt that language from me. Like, they're only talking how I speak. So, you know, like if they're being a bit rude or something like that, I'm like, they've heard me do that, or my other brother do that. So you have to be accountable that you can't say to them now, like, where did that come from? Why are you so rude? Blah, blah, blah. They're picking it up from you. So that's when, and they do that. They'll literally be pissing me off so much. And I'm just gonna, you know, and then I have to really step back and think to myself, like, okay, what did I need to hear? when I was being like that, because they learnt it from me.
Yeah.
So I can't be that angry about that. And then you kind of lose focus on what actually needs to be spoken about when you're letting your ego kind of get in the way.
See, that's what I mean. So saying that, do you think when there's like bad behaved kids, let's say, you think the parents need to be looked at more as being held accountable for how that child is behaving? Because a lot of parents will just turn around and say, oh, he's just a naughty child, without looking at themselves.
Yeah, because I feel like some kids are just more excitable than others,
Of course,
you know, and
naturally.
school is not, you know, not the best place for them, but it doesn't account for their temperament. But I do believe, you know, it's so hard because on the one hand, I'm like, who else is to blame? You know, the parents are raising them. They're all their behavior at school is an elevation of their behavior at home. So that's just a fact. But at the same time, having seen like how difficult it is to raise a child and do the things in the world, how difficult it is to just be a single adult. I can't imagine how hard it is to be a parent with a partner or a single parent and dealing with your kids and not having the same help that people had years and years ago. You know, it's really, really hard. I think it's so easy for schools to blame parents, but I think, you know, I haven't really seen a good school, to be honest, where teachers aren't just screaming at kids or stressed out or coming down from whatever they were up on the weekend. You know how many times I've been out when I was like 24 with actual teachers who are doing the hardest of the hardest. Like it's so scary that these people are looking after your kids.
It's crazy when you actually break it down.
Yeah.
The human element of it is like
everywhere.
The titles sometimes make you forget that there's a human behind that title.
But even like the only time you spoke to teachers was when you was a kid. So you're always going to think of your teacher as this tall adult who's in charge and blah, blah, blah. And you don't really recognize when you're older that these teachers are just you. Like they're just adults who want to party with their friends.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that situation, there's a whole different kettle of fish when you to break down that is different.
That is a different episode title.
100%. Yeah. But with accountability, so within yourself, have you reached a point where you're able to be accountable for yourself and your actions and everything that you do or don't do?
I think it's a journey.
It's never complete, right?
It's never complete because I always feel like you kind of have to trust the timing of things as well. That the more you grow, the more you'll be aware of certain things in yourself. But the more you keep yourself stagnant or try to like avoid a certain issue in your life, for example, the more you're delaying that growth. So the more you're not going to see. So it's hard to be accountable for things sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not easy. Like the way that I try to keep myself accountable. Firstly, I never try to think about the situation or what happened in the moment. Like before, I would always try to do that, like resolve it there and then, or think about it that night, send a message in the morning. Now I'm a bit more patient with letting answers come to me kind of thing.
You're not in a rush to solve it.
Yeah, not in a rush to solve it. And also, I don't know, lately, whenever I've been in front of someone, I've always tried to think like, what is being mirrored back to me, you know? Like, for instance, having really controlling managers who don't trust me had to make me ask myself, am I actually trustworthy in that environment? And the answer now is yes to all future managers. But
you said previously you wasn't.
Yes.
You can recognize why you was being micromanaged.
Yeah, because
to an extent, obviously, nobody.
To an extent, yeah. I mean, I felt like, you know, previous manager is crazy, and it was definitely her issue. And sometimes you're here to just teach someone what they're not able to get away with anymore. But also, I truly believe that everyone in front of you is a mirror. Like, it's showing you something of some kind. Like, you know, someone who's verbally abusing you is not just showing that this person is not an emotionally intelligent or stable or safe person. It's also showing you that you don't believe that you deserve to be spoken to better. You know, like, everything is being mirrored, because that person isn't going to be like that with everyone. You know, that's what manipulators are like. So why would they like that with you?
I guess so, you know.
Not to victim blame, you know, like that's a different thing. But I've had to find the balance between shaming myself and then also being accountable. And there is a middle ground, and it is a balancing act, and it is a process.
But how do you like find yourself accepting that?
You just have to, you know, like, when everyone within them has an inner compass. Like, when the truth is in front of you, you know what feels true, because what feels true doesn't actually feel that bad, you know?
Yeah.
The lies feel worse. Like, for instance, if someone stops talking to you and then you think the reason is you, that feels a lot worse to you than the truth, which is he just wasn't that into me. Like, I'm not the right person for him, which isn't as personal as he didn't like this about me, you know? It's
but say if it is you.
A different thing.
Say if it is you. Say if it is you, how do you deal with that? Like, are you able to look at yourself and realize that maybe it is me and it is this, that, the other?
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't apply across the board to everyone.
Yeah, I'm just pausing because I'm trying to think about what the balance actually is, because this happened with one of my friends recently too, where they started seeing things about themselves that they hadn't noticed before that weren't very good things to see.
Okay.
And then they kept, you know, they got over the moment, and then they referred to themselves a few times as a horrible person. And that's the dangerous part. Like, words really are spells. You have to be careful about what you're affirming to yourself. And I said, like, you're not a horrible person. You just did some unfavorable things, we'll call it, you know? That's it. And I think that's where you are able to stop being accountable, because it stops feeling so painful. When you can just look at it and be like, well, I am human. This is going to happen. So I'm not perfect. And then just kind of accept that.
Why do you think it is people aren't able to take accountability?
I think a lot of things. I think people can sometimes build worlds around themselves, which makes them feel safe. And it's easier to accept that someone else is the problem, or they're actually such a good person and this, rather than take accountability and have something in your ego shattered. What do you think it is?
Insecurities.
And also, then you have to do something about it. You know, I think some people like to feel so out of control, because then you don't have to do it. And when you realize that you're more in control than you think, then there's a call to action that needs to be taken place.
Yeah. Because I know people, or know of people, I should say, that they keep getting themselves in certain predicaments in life, and it's like, after a while, they need to look at themselves and think, why does this keep happening? Because
yes, they do.
It's like, there's only a certain amount of time where it's everybody else.
It's not easy though. Like, some issues, it's so much easier to just keep doing the same thing. Like, I think there's different levels of accountability in different areas of my life, you know? Like,
of course.
I'm definitely one of those people who...
That is wild, because you ain't even said anything, but I know. Go on.
What should I even bother saying it? You clearly know what I'm going to say.
We've been doing this for too long. We've been doing this for too long already.
We actually have.
That's
okay,
crazy.
So as you clearly know, I often have an issue with accountability with dating, or like What do you want to say? What do you...
Nothing. I'm just glad that you brought it to the table and not me.
You're like, finally, she's admitting it.
Do you know how many stories I've sat through?
Sat through. You mean being a willing participant? Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, as you clearly know, I have sometimes in the past dealt with the same issue from time to time with dating and guys and wanting things to be different. And it's just not being different. And yeah, sometimes you have to stop and look at yourself and think, maybe it is you.
In all seriousness though, yeah? In all seriousness. When you're looking at yourself in these situations, yeah? What are you seeing? Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the flaws or are you looking for the differences?
What do you mean?
Like the differences between what you want and what this person is given? Or do you look at the flaws within yourself and how you can possibly change that?
I'll be honest, I look at their flaws a lot.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing because I've not been asked this before actually. But I look at their flaws a lot and then...
So if you're looking at someone else's flaws...
That's where I need to take accountability, because I think I make excuses for people a lot. And with the mirroring thing that happens, because I also make a lot of excuses for myself sometimes. So I think I find myself seeing things that would be maybe not even red flags, could be pink or orange, but they're definitely not green flags. And then just going along with it anyway, expecting a result that would be different from the last time. And I think what stops me from being accountable in those situations is because, and that's why I say accountability is a process, because like the first layer of accountability is you really do start blaming your, and this isn't the same way with every area of your life, but it's what I've experienced with dating, is that first you just kind of start blaming yourself or all the beliefs that you have, all your insecurities start rising to the surface of like, you know, maybe they feel this way about me, or maybe I'm not good enough in that way. Like all the lies come up first. And then you have to kind of cut through that and be accountable with like, okay, you need to notice that you have this pattern of choosing a similar type of person, seeing the same traits, moving into it too quickly, and then having it unfold in the same way as before. And I think what's hard about being accountable is that you actually do have to do something about it.
But in those situations, if like a type of person is what you're naturally drawn and attracted to, how can you change that? Like how much within yourself can you really look at yourself and hold yourself accountable? Is it like almost unhealthy to take too much accountability in those things?
I think it's unhealthy to expect overnight or quick change, or to think that just because you've noticed something, you're gonna never do it again. You know, people relapse all the time. So again, not an excuse, but you have to be patient with yourself, you know, and think like, okay, from the outside looking in, I'm in a very similar position from what I was in before, but you have to also be accountable, not just with the bad things, but with the good things. And say like, actually, no, like if this was me a year ago with a similar sort of person, I would have been like this. And this time around, I've done that, you know? So you have to kind of look at it in that way too. I feel.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That
it's
makes
not
sense.
easy though. It's really not easy. And I feel that you'll just keep making the same mistakes until you learn the lesson. And if you've made the mistake again, you haven't learned the lesson. Like for instance, I believe that if there's someone that you shouldn't go to their house and see because you don't want to see them anymore, but you are really fighting the urge to go see them, and you know deep down that if I don't do it today, I'm just going to do it next week.
That's not where I thought that was going. Hold on.
Let me finish, you know? And if you're going to go there next week, then you may as well go there today. Because if the pull is that strong, then you haven't learned what you needed to learn, you know?
And by going there today, you think you'll learn that lesson, or you'll just continue the pattern?
That is the risk you have to, you have to
Talking
take.
from experience. You went back, right?
In the deep past, yes.
Way. All right, cool.
Well, the recent past, I guess. But yes, I did go back. And you know what? I learned more things that I needed to learn, you know? Like, yeah, like it's not a tightrope. I feel like I used to be like that. I used to be so hard on myself. And I think I was talking to my friend actually who brought this up. And it was such a good point where she said that I think when people become spiritual or grow a certain amount further past they thought they would, you forget that you are still human. Like you are not now God-like, you know, like that.
Of course.
And so when you do fall off and do something you thought you'd move past or didn't want to do, you're so much harder on yourself, and it makes it even harder to be accountable, you know? Like I remember a while ago I wanted to confront someone over something minor, like it wasn't anything big, and it was a friend, and I was taking so long to think about following a usual pattern that I follow of like, what kind of message do I send? How do I phrase this? Like trying to get the perfect message across so that this doesn't offend the other person or that they totally understand what I mean. And then I was like, you know what? I'm happy to say the wrong thing. And then if they want to pull me up on that after, I'll take it, you know, and I'm happy to be corrected because I'm so tired of working this hard to not make a mistake. And then I'm not actually saying anything that I want to say anyway. And after that, everything shifted for me. I was like, I'm really okay with saying the wrong thing now. It's actually not that deep.
That's interesting.
Mm.
And
if you're not intentionally trying to like be malicious or hurt someone or, you know, just be malicious for that, just for the sake of it, then that's obviously a different thing. But if your intention is just to communicate and you may not fully do it in the best way.
Yeah.
That's okay, you know? But if someone pulls you up on it after, then you have to be accountable and say, yeah, fair enough, whatever.
That does make sense because it's almost like you're just being your true self, right?
You've got to be your true self. It was really hard for me to like be accountable in a healthy way before when I was a lot more judgmental with it and rigid with it and was like, these mistakes are like, I was acting like they were going to cost me the end of time. And it's not like that. It's really not.
You think like it's possible to take on too much accountability in a situation?
What do you mean?
Like say if something's happened, right? And you're partly accountable, but you just end up taking it all on. Like you start to look at every little aspect of it and trying to be accountable for it. When realistically, the other person needs to take accountability as well in this situation. But you're not allowing them to do that because you're taking on all the accountability in the situation.
I've definitely been that way in the past, I think. But I don't know if I'd call that accountability. I feel like that's more like taking responsibility for a situation.
No, but you know, like say like I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head where you have to be held accountable. Say this is just a random, super random. You're going to meet someone, yeah? I love this example because
super random, yes. Go on.
It could actually apply to you. This example.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're going to meet someone, right?
Yeah.
And you're running late. You're running late.
Hypothetically, I can't relate to this personally, but sure.
You're running late, right?
You know what? I should have known that you'd bring this up in an episode for accountability. I should have known.
And obviously, this, from here on, it's a proper hypothetical situation. From here on, I promise you, you're going to meet someone, right? You're running late. You haven't told them yet. You haven't managed to get through to them for whatever reason. But where they're meeting you is like a hot spot for crime, let's say, right? But they're not aware of it.
Yeah.
So they're outside waiting for you, and they're moving kind of loose, like they just got their phone in their hand, not paying much attention. This person rides past, snatches his phone. Gone. Phone gone. You come out the station now, 20 minutes later.
Not
as,
even 5-10.
We're kind of trying to keep it semi-realistic here. You come out the station, happy.
Yeah.
Then he tells you what's happened. Now, you're partly to blame, right? Because you was late. He's to blame, or she, whoever it is to blame, because they've lacked total awareness in the situation. They've just got their phone out, not even paying attention to anything around them, right? But say now,
both people sound like me in the scenario.
See, you chose to be the late one. I didn't say any. And then, but you now feel so bad about being late that you've taken it on yourself. Like, oh, it's my fault. I got to take accountability in this situation. If I wasn't late, this wouldn't happen to you. And the person's like, yeah, if you wasn't late, this wouldn't happen to me. This, that, the other, and they're angry at you, but they haven't looked at themselves and being like, oh, if I just kept my phone in my pocket, this wouldn't happen.
Or at least held it like that, like close, not just swinging around.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're treating the situation like it's real, but yeah, I don't know. I got into it, but yeah.
So in that instance, you've taken on everything, and you've not allowed that person to even look at themselves as why they might be responsible or accountable to what happened in that situation.
Yeah,
I think that happens a lot in life without people realizing, and sometimes in relationships, not necessarily boyfriend girlfriend relationships, friendships, any type of relationships, parent, whatever, there's that imbalance of accountability when things happen, and it's often one-sided, and then that makes it unhealthy, because not every situation there's two people to blame or two people to take accountability, but in a lot of situations there are, and it's not really looked at that way. It's always seemed like accountability is a one-sided thing, more times than not.
It is. And I think that is really unhealthy, I think. But it's hard because I know what it's like to be in that position when you do feel so guilty and you take on all of that stuff and this, that, and the other. And it's so hard when you're also around people who are gaslighting you and saying, yeah, it was your fault. If you weren't late, none of this would have happened. Yeah. And it's like, how do you know? If you move like that, it could have happened any time, you know?
I think guilt can cloud it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, very much so.
For sure.
Because even, guilt can cloud it. Because I know situations as well where there's like, not everything has to be doom and gloom, but let's say I know a situation where an incident has happened, right? And there's two boys have been caught up in a situation with another guy, right? And one of the guys has gone overboard in what he's done, and now it's just caused the madness, right? And the other guy that didn't go overboard is sitting there thinking, because he's the one that started the argument, and he's there thinking like, if I didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened, like as the outcome. Whereas the person that's gone overboard needs to take accountability for their own actions. Yeah,
they do.
Rather than saying like...
They really do. And you know what? It's so funny you brought up this example, because I was going to use a similar hypothetical to say why I hate how accountability is used or not used sometimes, where people say, you know, like, oh, if you didn't, like when someone overreacts to something or shouts or breaks something or has like a very angry, extreme reaction to something, and then they're like, I only reacted that way because you didn't listen, or because you didn't do this, or because you said something to trigger me. That is accountability. I hate when people used to say to me, oh, I was so triggered. I was like, I'm not going to write a notebook of all your triggers. That is your job. Like, you need to know what triggers you and then regulate yourself in the moment. It's not my job to know your triggers and tiptoe around you. I think that's a really toxic thing to do when people try to make you accountable for how they react to stuff.
Correct. Yeah. How do you deal with somebody that isn't able to take accountability though?
I want you to answer that first.
How do I deal with it?
Yeah.
I stop. I just stop. How can I put it? I stop putting myself in situations where things can happen with them, like, because it's tiring. Like, say there's somebody that you know that every time you go out with them, they're gonna get into an argument with a stranger, but they don't see what they're doing wrong. I'll just stop going out with you because I just can't. Like, I can't be around you if you're not able to see how the error in your ways could end up affecting so many people in the situation. All it takes is for you to start arguing with someone, for that to go wrong, for me to get involved, and then now it's a bigger incident. Yeah. Like, things of that nature. If it's there's so many things, like, there's so many examples of that. There's these people that's just wrong and strong. Like, they're
wrong and strong.
They just don't know. They just don't know when to just accept it. Like, so in those things, if I see it going down that lane, sometimes I'll just let you have it because I just can't be bothered. Like, it's not going to affect me to prove you wrong. If I've already expressed it, don't get me wrong, I'll never hold it in. If I see you doing something wrong or you say something that I don't agree with, I'll say it. If you still don't agree with it and you still believe that you're always correct, or you can't take accountability for something that you've done wrong in a situation, so be it. Like, I've tried to let you know that you can't come to me. Say, so if I have a friend that's, I don't know, if I have a friend that's done something wrong in a situation with his girlfriend, but he's relaying the story to me, and it's just me and him here, so there's no bias here. Like, if your girl's there, I might be biased to you just to make it seem cool. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I won't. But
I think in that situation, you just stay silent. Be
like,
I got a call.
But if you're coming to me and you're breaking down a situation and you're wanting my opinion on it, and I'm pointing out to you where you could have possibly gone wrong, and you refuse to see it that way, like, as not even as a possibility, then
you know what I hate? I hate when someone is telling me about an interpersonal problem between them and someone else. So two people right now who have nothing to do with me, and then they tell me their side of the story, and I'm hearing it with fresh eyes. So I'm like, well, actually, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly they stop talking to me for like a couple hours or this, that. It's happened a good few times with a certain friend. And I'm just like, I'm not a yes man. I'm not going to just agree with you, you know? Like, don't start arguing with both of us now. I don't even live there.
But that's somebody that's unable to see themselves in a... The thing is, with accountability, it's not even seeing yourself in a negative light. It's just seeing yourself.
And I think that's where it gets hard, because people think that's taking accountability is a negative thing, because you feel, especially if you naturally are a good person, anything that kind of shatters that is so painful. And I think that stops people from being accountable. They're thinking that just because you did something that's not in the light and in the shadow means that you're suddenly now a bad person.
It's just got this negative connotation to it. It could be something as simple as somebody that's in the gym and they want to lose weight, and then somebody says that they want to lose weight, but they're not going gym actively. And
I feel like you're just attacking me.
I'm really
every
not.
2 seconds.
I'm really not. This is you taking. Hey, I'm just speaking it.
Projecting, not taking accountability.
Like, somebody that says that, I want to lose weight. I'm in the gym, but then they go home and they're snacking a lot on things that.
Do you know what I used to do when I really wanted to lose weight and go to the gym? I'd go to the gym, but then I'd walk past the cafe and I'd have a burrito and I'd go to the class.
But now the difference is,
come home like, I feel even worse. What was
if you're in that situation, you're saying to yourself, I don't know why this isn't working, as opposed to, I know why this isn't working because I had a burrito. It is what it is. That's still taking accountability, but it's not seen as such a negative, like a high negative, because you're just acknowledging your part, the part that you're playing in this thing. And I don't know what it is that stops people from being able to see the part that they're playing in something. It's always like, unless it's an extreme negative, they just can't see the simple things. That is something so simple.
I think, you know what, it comes down to like, partly I think what you mentioned earlier on as well, like how some people really want to like get their point of view across, or their point across of why they're right. And I think sometimes people can be so caught up in that that they don't want to accept the accountability, you know?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, well, who's more right? Well, now I'm less right, you know? And it's not about that.
Because it's not even, 9 times out of 10, it's not even a big thing that you have to be accountable for. It's the small things, like things in your day, the smallest things. Like I remember before, it's so small, so minute. Something like being late, yeah? I was late to something because the night before, I couldn't be bothered to put petrol in my car. And then the next day I done it, and it made me late.
That is exactly what happens. It is a lack of preparation that ends up making you late. And all you need to do is put your clothes out, put your bag out, maybe wash your hair if you need to. Do you know what I mean? And then you're set for the next day. And I know this because I never prep.
But taking accountability in that situation isn't like a soul damaging thing.
No, it's not. It's not.
But there's people out there that will not see that.
And also, I feel like sometimes people think that, like, once you're accountable for something, or like once you notice something, you have to stop, you know, instead of being like, well, there's moderation, you know, like even with the same example of losing weight and stuff. Sometimes, because even for me, for a moment, I was like, oh, I really want to lose weight, blah, 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 this is this. And then I had to really stop and think, like, do I actually even really want to do that? You know, like, how important is that to me? Or is there like a middle ground? Like, what am I actually trying to achieve with that?
Are you just trying to be healthy, or are you trying to lose weight?
Yeah, or
that's
like,
a big difference.
Is there like a certain amount of weight that you want to lose, or this, that, and the other, and just kind of accepting things? But I think it's so funny how some people talk about being so tough and this, that, and the other, and how other people are so sensitive. Like when people are like, oh, people are so sensitive, blah, blah, blah. But I truly think everyone is so sensitive by nature. That's just who we are. And like the toughest people, or the people who are, you know, really put together in some way, I don't think they're less sensitive than others. I just think they're less attached to themselves than other people are.
I think they're just able to
hide it.
I don't think it's a hiding thing. I think it's able to accept, so it appears as nothing phases you and you're tough because you're nothing phases you, you appear tougher than other people. But it's a case that when things happen, you're just able to accept all the elements of why that happened, the part that you played, the part that's out of your hands, and then it just appears that you're a tougher person. Because again, acceptance and accountability is not a weakness. It's more of a strength when you really look at it. To be able to see the part that you play in something going well or something going wrong. It's a strength, not a weakness.
It's true. It
100%.
is a strength. More than that, I think it's essential, you know, because otherwise you're just stuck in like the same spot for ages, thinking that nothing's going to change. How do you keep yourself accountable?
By knowing there's a balance to accountability, like like it's not always a negative.
Yeah.
There's positive accountabilities. Like there's things that's happened that I know that wouldn't have happened unless I done certain things, which makes me accountable for it happening.
Yeah.
And there's things that, you know what it is the negative side is always the one that's harder to look at, because you're having to really analyze what you could have done better, or what you could have done different, if there is anything you could have done different.
Like one thing with accountability that I want to say is that treat it sensitively, you know, like it's not a rush. Like sometimes things are hard to face. Like it is hard to look at yourself as not being a good person, or not even being someone you respect in a moment, and you don't have to like figure out all those elements in one evening. It's okay to like be like, this actually hurts too much, I cannot look at this right now, and then come back to it later. But that's the thing, you've got to come back to it later.
Yeah but sometimes life gets in the way of that. And I don't think everything requires you to look for accountability. I think some things you can just let live without looking for a reason. It's nice to know a reason behind things happening, but I think you can drive yourself crazy trying to think of a reason for everything. Like, because some things are just what it is,
and some things just aren't ready to be revealed to you right now either, you know. That's literally also a part of it. If you believe in that sort of stuff, which I obviously do. But but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like with accountability, it really is like such an individual thing. And even within your own individual journey, it changes all the time. Like before, I'd keep myself so accountable just by journaling every day and like writing down, journaling every day. And then I wanted to kind of focus on my health a little bit more. And so, but I wasn't able to keep account of anything. So like every day in my notes, I would write down, this is how much water I drank. This is how many pieces of fruit I had. This is how much I did the things that I didn't want to do, you know, to see what was going on and if I was able to do it. But then also to see what my days would look like on the days that I did do it and stuff like that. Like just, you know, experimenting with yourself and taking the time out and doing that kind of stuff. I feel like that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the time.
That's
but
it.
like,
yeah. But if you've got the time, it makes sense. But you can do that mentally anyway. Like if you've got the mental capacity to do it, you can do that mentally.
What, keep count?
Not like in terms of accurate figures and stuff, but just like a rough ballpark figure. You can mentally, like you could drink 3 of those in a day and just know that I've drank roughly 3 of those in a day. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be naturally like,
I guess.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
no, but you could just be drinking it and not paying attention.
Just be doing it, yeah.
So like, yeah, just things of that nature. But yeah, I think overall, I mean, accountability is a subject that we could dive a lot deeper in on. Because there's a lot of situations in life and hypotheticals that I could bring to the table. Like,
okay, let me give you a hypothetical actually. How do you feel about accountability when, say you're working with a manager and they've asked you to do something or something's happened that is so clearly their fault? Like say they've asked you for work, like what's the update on blah blah blah, and it's like, when did you say you ever wanted me to update you on this? What happens in those situations? Like, do you correct them and hold them accountable, or would you just say, you know, oh, sorry about that, my mistake?
I feel like in life you should always be able to tell somebody the truth. If they've not done something, I don't think it hurt. Like, however they deal with it, they deal with it. If you, like, in that situation, I think I probably would say it to them, like, oh, I don't think you've ever sent that to me or requested that from me, but I'll get it done for you. Now that you have, like, just let them know.
Yeah.
The truth is, you haven't told me that, but I'll get it done for you. I think in those situations, that's what it is, because
I think that's a really good way to do it. Yeah, sorry, go on.
You'll never be able to shame them. Like, at the end of the day, if it's a manager, they're always going to
have the upper hand.
They're always going to have the upper hand, even if they're in the wrong. But it doesn't mean that you can't put your point across.
Yeah.
And
I really like
know.
that.
They'll know.
I feel like before I would be like, oh my God, so sorry, you know, and then it evolved into, we seem to have misunderstood each other, which is like my new line now. But I hate it because I'm like, I could literally show you the email where you said the wrong thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's really frustrating, but I think that's a good way to do it. Like, I still respect the power dynamic here. Like, I'll get it done for you, but you didn't send it. So.
Yeah, something like that. All right, I'm going to say this here because I started the pod with it. Why in certain situations are women...
Be specific.
All right.
What situation?
Failed relationships. So if something happens in a relationship where their partner ends up leaving, should a woman ever be accountable for their partner cheating on them? Do you think there's any situation a woman can be held accountable for that? Or a man be held accountable for his woman cheating on him?
No.
Okay, cool. So in a relationship, yeah?
There's not, like, I was thinking of different scenarios in my head where, like, you know, certain things have happened, or even like friends and stuff, like where certain things have happened and blah, blah, blah. But the honorable thing, the only thing you should do if you are no longer being satisfied by your partner, and if you've tried to speak to them about it, is to leave them. You know?
Cool. The reason I asked that question in particular, because it leads on to my question of when a relationship fails, and it's nothing to do with cheating. Yeah, so we've established that side.
Okay.
There's nothing to do with cheating. Do you think?
So you're just trapping me as we go along. Like I feel so nervous.
There's a method to everything. Do you feel like there needs to be, or there can be, more responsibility and accountability on a woman's behalf for why a relationship may fail? Because you often see that the man is blamed.
Well, you have to be specific. Like, give me an example. Like, in what way are men being blamed? Because I also feel that men really do struggle to be accountable sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got an example for the reverse. So say for the reverse, yeah, sometimes you see like some women saying the relationship's not going anywhere. I don't feel we're growing. You're not giving me enough time, attention, all of these things. Like the initial attention and intimacy and care isn't the same as it is now. Like it's something's changed, right? So they don't feel like they want to be in this relationship anymore. That's from a woman's perspective, right? In those situations, yeah, even in that situation, do you think a woman can take any accountability in that? Because the man has to, naturally, but even though he doesn't. A lot don't, I mean, in those situations.
So if a woman is saying, I want more time and attention and blah, 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 and the man's not giving it, and then they leave their partner, I think they did the right thing, you know? Like firstly, you have to communicate with someone.
But a lot of women don't. That's the problem. You see, like, even the thing of, I want to see you, but you're not messaging me first, so I'm not going to message you. But if it's someone that you want to see, why does that stop you from messaging them? Because they're not messaging you first. And then you get angry that they're not spending enough time with you and it's not growing the way that you want. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, but I'm just laughing because I literally complained about this the other day. So
I'm
honestly,
really not
Darren,
trying to be here exposing Cam's life. I promise you.
What kind of sabotage are you?
This is all
what
news
kind
to
of
me.
smoke did you come on today?
This is all news to me.
But yeah, so I don't know, because okay, so let's break it down. So you said a failed relationship where...
Or a talking stage. It don't have to be as deep as a relationship. We can lighten the load.
We can make it specific to you, Cam. It can be a talking stage. Great. Tell people I don't get relationships.
I literally said we can lighten the load, and you again wanted to take accountability.
Anyway, so you know what? So with the thing of like men not messaging women so they don't message them first, I think there's a lot of grey area there, and it depends on the hypothetical. So if it's a thing where like a woman wants the guy to message her but he messages her every day and she's like waiting for him to message, I do think like, yeah, you could message him, you know, and do it yourself. Because if you want to speak to someone, just speak. And that's kind of what I do. Like if I want to call someone or whatever, I'll just do it. But I also feel that women are very intuitive, you know, and you can tell when something's off. And it's not a myth. Women are intuitive, and men can be intuitive too. But women are very intuitive. And you can tell like when you first start talking to someone and then they start pulling back or they don't message as much as they used to. And then it's like, well, I don't want to feel like a beg or this, that, and the other, or like I'm having to force the same kind of attention out of you as before. Yeah. And you know what? To be fair as well, I can totally understand as a woman the exhaustion of having to ask a man to talk to you more, you know? And in this world of the dating age, it's kind of like, it's so easy to assume that they are talking to someone else or their interest has changed or moved or whatever. And I think as men, if you genuinely like a woman, you have to be accountable for keeping the same energy you had when you were first talking. And if you can't do it, then just don't do it. Or, you know, being accountable with, that's it. I had a second point, but I can't remember it.
Interesting.
Because I'll use one example. I really hate, and I don't find it cute, when guys send a morning message every single day and nothing else firstly, what am I meant to say to that?
Morning.
Yeah, I know, but what else? Like, it's just, it feels like so robotic. Like, I find it, maybe that's a personal thing. I just don't like it.
Why don't you start the convo then?
Sometimes, well, I would, you know, if there was a convo that could be started. But
say
now,
morning, how did you sleep?
Literally, that is like torture to me in terms of a
worst.
Conversation. And I am like a soft, sensitive, romantic
Or you could
person.
just say, morning, what's your plans for today?
Why do I give a fuck about you? Like, I don't want to talk about that stuff. It's so boring. No, it's boring.
What do you want to talk about at 7 in the morning?
I don't.
That's where it comes down to. Fair enough.
And then also, because obviously I've been working like the hours that I want to work lately, so it's so revealing when people can see what time you've woken up and you're messaging them. And I don't like it. And I think the thing with that I find annoying is that don't start something that you're not then able to keep up all the time. Because the day that you don't send that 8 o'clock morning message that you've been sending every day, it's going to create questions in your mind, you know? And then you're going to have to say, hey, haven't heard from you today, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's so annoying. I hate it. So I feel like, I don't even know what that has to do with accountability.
It really doesn't. You're just venting, but it's cool.
I was trying to make it circle round, but I just find, but even that is so annoying. Like, as a man, don't do something and treat a girl a certain way if it's actually not in your character. If it's in your character to be a morning person kind of person, then yeah, do that, I guess, whatever. Don't do it to like win a woman over and then switch it up afterwards, you know?
And then get annoyed when she calls you out on it.
She will go. Like, we're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. We will leave.
What about like when a woman... Can I say this? What about when a woman, ends up with somebody that has a history of doing certain things, whether it's having children and not staying with the mother, or multiple relationships, or cheating in a previous relationship, and then you get with this person thinking that they're going to change for you and they don't.
You have to be accountable for being delusional. Why would they? What's so different about you? Like, what's so different? If their life is exactly the same, say if someone has that kind of past and they were living in a certain area and around a certain crowd, and now they've changed, you know, within their own life personally, then you'd have a bit more to believe that things would be different because someone is presenting themselves as a different person. But if that's not the case, you know, and I'm not going to lie, I've definitely been that delusional. We just said, like, getting into the same pattern or the same type of person and thinking that things are going to be different in this occasion when they've told you who they are straight away, you know? I think a man will tell you exactly who they are straight away without even meaning to, you know? When was your last relationship? 10 years ago. What kind of relationships do you like? I don't. You know, it's all very there. Like, it's not that hard. Yeah. So you can't be surprised. You can be hurt, like you're allowed to be hurt.
But you got to take on some accountability.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be accountable.
That's the long and short of it.
When someone has a history and a pattern of behavior that they're still very much in, then yeah.
That makes sense.
I think one thing that I'm quite good with and wary of is talking to people who've kind of come out of a relationship even kind of recently. Because I think when someone comes out of a relationship, and obviously the time is extended, I guess, for when they're in a longer one, but I think as a rule of thumb, they need to have been out of that relationship for at least like a year, maybe even 8 months. It's still too early for me, actually. Like, I think a year, because I think within that time, you're in rebound city. Like, that is just where you're at.
Rebound City.
Yeah, because you know when people break up, they still don't actually break up. Like it takes a good 3 months to stop trying to be friends, and then they actually
it properly. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the thing. Like, I had a friend who was a male friend who was telling me about how they were talking to a girl who met them as they were breaking up with their girlfriend, and then they were kind of like on the phone to them all the time, and this, and like talking, kind of getting a bit too into it, and they obviously weren't, you know. And I think that is so key to remember. Like, if someone has just come out of a relationship and they're talking to you, they haven't processed anything. All they're doing is having muscle memory, because it's lonely in the night, you know. You're just a blanket, to be honest. So I think it's harsh, but it's true. You are. Where is the lie? You have to be accountable.
That is so harsh, but true. It really is harsh.
It is really harsh, but it is true.
No, that's crazy.
You are a blanket, you know, and it's better to realize that beforehand than afterwards, because it feels a lot harsher to realize that at the end of the game.
You ever been a blanket?
Of course. Why do you think I'm being so hot?
Yes, people.
It's habit. You learn from experience. You have to be accountable. I said I'm good at this now. Not before.
Right. On that note, we're at that part of the show. You got any words of advice for people? Don't be a blanket.
Don't be someone's blanket. That's, you know, it is not nice. You will not be warm. Now, words of advice with accountability. I'd say take your time, you know. It's okay to be the bad guy. Like, it's really okay to do that. Just take your time, let that settle a little bit, and just remember that you're human and here to have the human experience. We're meant to be perfect.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine is something similar. It's like, I'm going to use the same two words as in take your time, but take your time.
Oh, very similar.
Take your time to
same, some would say. How accountable. Wow, accountability one.
Take your time, yeah. But like,
so original. It's just like you was like, that mine is so similar.
It was exactly the same.
But yeah, go on, take your time, but
so all I done was copy your homework and put my name on it.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Now take your time to figure it out, but notice the patterns. Like notice any patterns.
Yeah.
And maybe try and do something about it if it's detrimental to you.
Do you have like an accountability trick, like a fail-safe trick that you could give to people?
Depends on the situation, but I always try and look at stuff objectively, as in if it's not something that I've done, I try and put myself in the other person's shoes. If it's something I've done, I try and look at how would it feel if it happened to me. So I guess in both instances, I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes. Yeah, just to kind of like see, because if it's something that I've done and I can't see it, but I'm looking at it from someone else's point of view, I might be able to see the error of my ways. And if it's something that's happened to me, then something similar. So yeah, always kind of look at stuff objectively.
I agree. I think my little top tip would be to look at things when you're not angry, because sometimes we can be so attached to anger. Like, if you really think about it, you just want to be angry at this person sometimes, you know. So it's good to like take a step back and think about it when you're in a different mood. And going to the park really helps with that.
Nature helps.
Just nature helps. That's actually the true top tip. Like, if you really want some revelations, go to nature, but without expecting them. Like, just go there, have a good day. And as you're walking around or lying down, things will come to you easily, you know. The more you try to put something under a microscope, sometimes the less you see it.
100%. 100%.
And on that note.
Yes, on that note, that's another one.
Yes, guys. Episode.
Thanks for joining us again.
I'm joking.
Episode number.
Is it 26 now?
I think it's like 27.
No way. Why do I, every week I'm always a number off, behind?
Always one off.
And it's always one. It's never like like really I should just round up to the next number.
You would think so by now. Now I need to fact check because I don't want to be misleading the people, you know.
Yes, we're being accountable.
Yes, episode number 27.
All right. Well, on that note, goodbye,
bye.
everyone.